I want to add one note to this blog, and that's about parts and service. It's because of COVID, you just can't get these things done quickly. You can't order parts and get them in a reasonable amount of time like you used to be able to. You can't get service work done as quickly as you used to. People are not working. It's hard to get labor. It's hard to get parts shipped. The two things I ran into after we made a trip. We made a trip to the UP of Michigan in June, and during that trip, I had to get rid of one of the toppers on one of my slides. It went bad. It pulled loose from the camper, and I was okay. I just planned on getting that replaced when I got back. The other thing is the rear stabilizers. I forgot to let them up one time a while back, and one bent, and it's okay, but I wanted to replace that. So I took my camper into Integrity RV in Douglasville. Great guys, I like them. They do a good job for me, but I mean, they just can't get the parts. So I took that camper in the 1st of August. It's been there all of August. The work was supposed to be done and was scheduled to be done on the 23rd. I checked with them today, which is the 26th, and the work's not done. They haven't even gotten the parts. Don't know when they can get the parts. It would have been nice if they had called me and told me that, but anyway, I found out today, so I'm going to go get my camper tomorrow. We've got our Labor Day trip planned the week after Labor Day to go to Camp Guff, and I can go as is. I don't need that slide topper, and I'm okay with the stabilizers that are on it. So I'm okay. I'll get it. When the parts come in, I'll get it repaired. It'll be after that Labor Day trip. But I just wanted to add that note. If you're having to have any work done, plan it. We are so excited to be going to Camp Guff. We go every year on Labor Day, and we look forward to it all during the year. It's a great campground. It's an old campground. I've been going to it all my life. If you've never been, check it out. It's at Miramar Beach, right next to Destin, Florida. They've got everything in that campground that you could possibly want. Plus, it's one of the few campgrounds that you'll find that's right on the beach. This is our camping spot this year, Site 606. I'm going to get Cheryl coming out of the camper. She never lets me get her on camera. And she won't know I'm getting on the camera now. Hey, Cheryl. Wave at me. Okay. So she's not happy. Hey, Dustin.
Yeah.
This is Dustin's truck. He installed some air horns on his truck. And they're really great and they're really loud, but there's a leak there must be a leak in the compressor. Anyway, the pump keeps coming on. Can you hear it?
It'll wake you up.
It's just a short walk from our campsite to the beach. This is a loop right by the beach, and get a good bit of traffic on this loop, but still less traffic than the other side of the loop, which is where we used to stay in 547 or 545. So when you get to the top of this little hill, you can see the ocean on the other side of those campers that are camped right on the sand. These are the campers that are camped right on the sand. Two things that make them different is that they don't have sewer hookups, and these are not pet-friendly sites. For some reason, Walton County is really strict on pets on the beach, and so they're not allowed to make these pet-friendly sites. And they have a honey wagon that comes around and empties their sewer. Let's go back. We had a lot of rain last night, and even this morning, and it's starting to rain again, so there's very few people on the beach. But you can see what a pretty beach it is. Sand is white, the water is emerald green, clear. And yesterday the water was absolutely beautiful. Today is just going to be a rainy day. Here's another view of the campers that are camped right on the beach. For years we've gotten this site, 545. It's between two trees. It's one site between the two trees, and for some reason, you know, they don't have enough room to put two sites between the two trees, so that makes it a larger site. You got room for a tent, table, whatever on one side of the camper. But I used to like this site a lot, but I've changed my mind. I don't like how close it is to this camper on the right. And, you know, my sewer hose running right by somebody's picnic table, I'm not comfortable with that. And I didn't ask for this site next year, and I'm not ever going to ask for this site again. I have changed my mind. But it is close to the beach. I'm standing in front of 545 and looking at the bathhouse. Very nice bathhouse, but if you look to the left of the bathhouse, you can see my gray truck over there. That's our site this year, which is 606. So it's close to the bathhouse also. The bathhouses again. Got a shower right outside. Today is Thursday, and the campground's filling back up. There were a couple of days during the week when it was slack, people had left, but it is filling up today. This is the left side going down to the beach where we used to stay, and then you've got your bathhouse, and then if you see the gray truck over there, that's mine. That's the right side going down toward the beach. We're making our way up toward the food truck, hoping it's open. Yesterday it was rainy, and they don't open when it's bad weather, but it appears to be open today. You can see it up the hill on the left, that white food truck. This is a pond. Not sure what they use it for, but I know when water collects in the streets, they pump it all into that pond. And if you can see, on the other side of the pond, they have some yurts. They do have people working to keep the place clean and neat. See a yurt on the other side of the pond. 3 yurts. You know, I remember now when we had a dog, this is what they use for a dog walk. You can put your dogs in there, and of course it's walled in, so it's hard for them to get out. I don't know if that's, I guess that's still what they use it for, because there's a little bag station and a sign. When you come in off the street, you don't usually check in right there at the front office, the main office. You drive on down to the middle of the campground, and this building is called Leona's. There's a store in there called Leona's, and this is where you actually pick up a guide who will take you to your site, and then you come back here and you can check in, pay what you owe, and make reservations for next year if you want to. Up here by the food truck is the big swimming pool. We have 2 swimming pools, one on further toward the front office, and then this one in the middle of the campground. Here's the pool. Here's the big pool, and they've got a water slide down on the other end of it. Nice pool. Here's another shot of Leona's gift shop and the check-in station in the middle of the campground. Got a basketball goal, and I think they rent games inside Leona's, and kids can play games out in this area. Mid campground, right by Leona's, is the food truck. It's nice to have a food truck in a campground. We've been here most of a week, and I have yet to get out the grill. So that's been nice. The name of this grill is the Pudgy Pineapple Grill. It's hard to remember, but it's a good food court. Just walking around the neighborhood looking at sites, you'll see some that really pay attention to their animals. This site has the whole area fenced in for the animal on one side of the camper. Got a sign out front that says, "Warning, these animals can't hold their liquors." Big trees in it, so there's a lot of shade. I'm not going to walk through that, but it has a smaller swimming pool. It has the main office on Highway 98. It's where you enter. So when you enter, you have to come through this area to get down to Leona's, and then on past Leona's is the beach area. The upper campground sites are smaller, so a big rig is really going to be tight. But there are some in this area. The upper part of the campground is really beautiful. It's full of large trees, a lot of shade. The sites are smaller, but big rigs can get in a lot of them. It has its own swimming pool, has its own bathhouse, and to enter the campground and to leave the campground, you have to go through this area. So it's really beautiful. It's just a longer hike to the beach. It looks like a lot of the sites in the upper area are the sites that they use for monthly rentals and longer stays. I heard from my neighbors that ownership was, well, that the ownership had used a management company maybe just last year or maybe just in the recent years. I didn't know it. I never noticed a difference. But any owners have the management again of the campground. So my neighbors noticed it, but I really didn't. I didn't notice any changes. The generation to generation, and it stayed in the family, and this was mandated by the will of the original owner. They weren't allowed to sell it, so they still have ownership, although they did use a management company the last couple of years, and now they've taken back over the management of the campground. I never noticed the changes, and I don't know what the problem was. I wish they could do something to make it easier to get in and out of the campground onto that busy Highway 98. This is the entrance from the main road, and when you come in this way, you'll go past several little cabins. And they've been here for a few years. This is the first year that we've seen added to the cabins the yurts. The yurts you can see in front of me right here. And I'll be walking past the yurts to get back to our campsite. The yurts are really a good size. I've never checked them out. Don't know how much they rent for, don't know how big they are, but they look to be a good size. Don't see too many bighorn campers. Mel Good's got one, but here's one at Camp Guff. There's a lot of big, nice campers down here. Mid-afternoon on Thursday. Weather's been good all day. A little cloudy, but not bad. This will give you a shot of how many people are actually camping here in September, the week after Labor Day. I don't know if you can see it, but the flags that are flying are red, and I don't see the purple one, but I think it's up there. I think it's red and purple, which means marine life and riptides, but they're not telling us to stay out of the water. These are the campers that are right on the beach. The whole campground is just about right on the beach. Water in Destin is really pretty. You can see why it's called the Emerald Coast. It is green water. Give you a shot back up toward the campground. Pretty busy place the week after Labor Day. There are two beach access pathways to the beach from the campground, one on the left and one on the right, as you're facing the beach highway, which is, I don't know the name of that highway. Anyway, facing the highway, I'm on the left side. You got Destin Car Wash. They're always here. We've used them before to wash our camper and wax our camper. So they're doing something for this guy. Get a shot of this camper here. It's here every Labor Day. These folks own the Christmas shop and Pigeon Forge, and they come down every Labor Day. And you see a lot of the same people down here every time we come. This is sort of a mezzanine level. Less traffic up here. The loop that comes in goes around this section. It's on a lower level. So these people are sort of out of the traffic. This is the camper that I showed you that belongs to the people from Pigeon Forge that own the Christmas shop. It's hard to get one of these sites. Even if you try to rent one a year in advance, it's hard to get them. People, somehow they've figured out how to get them every year. Don't know how they do that, but you see the guy from Pigeon Forge in that spot every year. I'll walk through this site since it's empty. I'm headed back over to our site now. Some of these sites, like the one I'm walking through, it's a really long site. The guy that pulled in next to us this morning is driving a motorhome. It's a 45-footer. He took every inch of that site. Now, he would have been good up here, but in the site that's next to us, he took every inch of it. It really just barely accommodated him. And trying to get into it, he had a little problem. They had an orange cone over a grate where they were, I don't know what they were doing, but there was a pump in it, so they were pumping water out of it or into it or something. He ran over that with his right front tire and destroyed it. But that's his camper right there. I don't think he hurt his tire. It's a Tiffin, nice camper, but you can see he's using every bit of his little site. Now the Williamsons have plenty of room. Our camper's only 34.5 feet, so we've got plenty of room. We even had plenty of room to set up a canopy tent. So Cheryl's got it lit up like the 4th of July with lights. I'll have to put a shot in here of this at night. Today is Friday and the water is beautiful. For those of you that have been to Destin before, this is no surprise to you. This is probably why you come back time after time. But for those that have never been to Destin, you need to come. This is a beautiful beach. The water is beautiful. The water is clear. Today there is no seaweed in the water. There's no marine life. There's no jellyfish. And that's today. Tomorrow might be different. This morning we watched, I guess you call them dolphins, just really putting on a show for us, jumping completely, totally out of the water, and of course doing their half circles that they do all the time. But we actually saw one jump completely out of the water. Really, really a beautiful beach. I keep calling it Destin, but we're actually at Camp Guff, which is on Miramar Beach. It's in Miramar, Florida. It's a few miles east of Destin. I believe the area is also called Sandestin, or at least this is where the Sandestin Resort is located. The campground is right on the beach. The campground is a real long campground, and the only sites that are actually on the beach are these, 10 or 20 sites right here along the beach. But every campsite is close to the beach. It's a very short walk to the beach, no matter which site you're in. You can see the shades of green and blue in the water. And you can tell why they call this the Emerald Coast. It's absolutely beautiful. There's Cheryl sitting on a sandbar, and I will join her as soon as I go put this camera up. We've been here since Labor Day, which was Monday. We had one rainy day, but all the other days have been nice. This is Friday, and this is probably the prettiest day we've seen. Definitely enjoyed a good dolphin show this morning, or porpoise show. I don't know really what they are, but they're not out there right now. Get one shot of all the campers that are lined up on the beach. I've taken them before, but maybe in this pretty day they'll show up better. That pontoon boat and that bass tracker boat just came from the section that we're in, the new section. They drove over here to launch their boats. Got a double ramp. Nice boat ramp. Gonna try it again to film some boats loading. We were here earlier and all I got was audio. I didn't get the video. So we'll see if we can get a couple. It's a nice ramp. It's a 2-lane ramp. Right down into that dirty Alabama water. Looks like he's got a boat captain with him that knows what she's doing. Well, she's really not headed for it, so we'll see. Well, that's not his wife driving the boat. That's a friend. Did a good job. The ramp's slick and these tires are spinning, pulling boats up this ramp. Maybe that's what it was over at Altoona, where we saw trucks that couldn't pull their boats out. There's another pontoon boat. We'll see how they do.
job.
Site number 22 is nice, and I would choose this site again. It's not on the water, but it's level. I noticed that a lot of those sites that are on the water slope, and I just have a hard time dealing with the slope sites. So this site I really do like a lot. Now right across the street from us, those sites are actually on the water. And you can see the water right through there. But it's a pretty steep bank. There's no good access to the water for many of these sites. This is in the new section at Gunter Hill. In the old section is where the ramp is. And they do have a nice ramp over there. It's a 2-lane ramp. And actually the ramp, although we can't see it, is right across this cove from where we are. I've got a Playmaker bubble, and as you can see, we're in the trees. So I'm not able to use our dish bubble at this site, but it was good to try to set it up, because what I found 2 critical errors in my wiring. First of all, inside the door that you're looking at, where I hook the bubble and cable, if we had it, to the camper, there are 3 connections. One's for, it's called main. That's where I would hook my cable if we had cable. There's another one called satellite, which is where I would hook this dish bubble to. Well, I wasn't having any luck, and I got to thinking about that connection, and I came out and took the plate off and looked behind it. I'm going to show you, because it's hard to put it into words. Okay, you see the plate, I've got it hanging out right now. You can see the connections on it: main, satellite 1, satellite 2, and satellite 3. Well, satellite, there's no cable behind it for satellite 3. There is cable behind it for satellite 2, and there was cable behind it for satellite 1, but satellite 1, although it looked normal on this side, behind it, it was disconnected and hanging loose. So that was a major problem. And I've got it hooked back up, but I've got to put it back together in a few minutes. But I've got it hooked back up, and that solved half of my problems. The other half of my problems had to do with the connections inside the camper behind my Wally receiver. I didn't have the Cat 5 cable hooked up to my Wally receiver, so obviously that was a critical problem. When I figured out those 2 things and solved them, then I'm getting my dish works, and it goes through all the procedures it needs to go through, but it's not working because I'm surrounded by trees. I think when we get on down to Destin and try to use it, we'll be able to, although we won't need it there because they have such good cable service. It's nice to know I got that fixed, though. Walking right across the street from our camper into a site where nobody has checked in yet, so I was able to walk on back to the back of it. You can actually see the water in the cove from this side. Actually see a boat fishing over there. walking on down to the edge of the water. See a pontoon boat over there. I don't know that they're fishing. My eyesight's so bad I can't tell. But there are people on the boat. I think that boat has been there all day long, so that makes me wonder what they really are doing. The sights on the river or the lake, it's not a lake, are nice. The only thing that would make me not want these sites is that they're not level sites, they slope. And I just have a hard time with sloping sites. You can see my truck up in site 22. That site is level. I like it. I would choose it again. This site that I'm in, standing in right now, is level enough for me. I would call this level, although it's not level, but that's close enough to where I would call it level. That's a nice site, and you can get down to the water from there. This is site number 25. I would be happy in site number 25 also. We had a couple of obstacles to overcome getting ready for this trip. We were missing a topper, which we lost on the trip in June up to the UP of Michigan. Well, I didn't lose it. I mean, something happened. It got wadded up. We had to cut it off and throw it away. So we took that in to get it replaced in Douglasville at Integrity RV, and they couldn't get the parts. It'll be September or October before they get the parts. So that's okay. We can do without it. The other thing that was the stabilizers on the back end of the camper. Well, we needed to replace those because I had forgotten to raise them, and I bent them, and they still work, but one is bent. I wanted to get it replaced. They couldn't get the parts. That'll be probably October before I get those parts. So we can deal with both of those things because they're not critical. Just to emphasize again, if you come to Gunter Hill and Montgomery, you don't want to get in the Antioch Loop. That's the old loop. And after November of this year, you won't be able to anyway. They're going to close it down and repair it. Hopefully they'll pave new roads through it. You know, they may just never reopen it. It's in that bad a shape. So be sure you stay in the new section. I'm trying to think of why people come to this area. There is a boat ramp, so people can go fishing here. There's not really a good place to swim, and the water does have alligators in it. Most of the waters coming up from Florida and Georgia and Alabama have alligators in them. We see alligators in Georgia and Eufaula Lake. We see pictures and reports of alligators even as far north as Lake Wedowee, which is getting up close to Interstate 20. So they do come up. The park rangers told us that they had alligators in this water too, and this is as far north as Montgomery. But these lakes, even with alligators in them, can be great fishing. Lake Seminole in South Georgia is full of alligators, but the fishing is great. I think I can't think of many reasons to come to Montgomery that interest me. The only reason we come here is because it's on the way to Florida. So coming out of Bremen, Georgia, we can come to Montgomery and spend a night or two for a break, and then go on down to Destin, which is what we're doing now. We hit Destin every Labor Day, spend a week there after Labor Day. And we could drive all the way from Bremen. It's not that terribly far, but it's nice to take a break. This is our campsite number 22 at Gunter Hill. We're in the new loop at Gunter Hill, which is really nice. It may be one of my favorite Corps of Engineering campgrounds because the sites are so far apart. You just have so much room here. Nobody is crammed in this new section. Now the old section, called the Antioch Loop, is pretty rough. I wouldn't recommend that section, and we stayed in it once 2 or 3 years ago. And we rode back in it this time just to see what condition it was in. It's bad. In fact, they told us at the check-in that Antioch is being closed down in November this year for repairs. And they would have to be major. Even the roads are like dirt trails. I mean, it's in bad shape. It needs to be closed down, but this section, the new section, is just wonderful. It's on a body of water. I don't know the name of the water here, but this is big water. This water is the same water that flows out of Logan Martin Lake and on down through Montgomery and past this campground and into the Tom Bigby waterway at some point. I don't know how many dams there are on it, but it's the Coosa River water is what it is. Of course, it's not called that here. Some of the sites back up to the water, but very little water access in this campground. But all the sites are really spread apart. You've got a lot of room. Some of the sites are extremely long, like around 60 and 61, 62. You can tell we're in Alabama. There's some Alabama football fans here. Look at that big sign. Their car's even red. They got the front windshield of the camper with Alabama signs all over it. Alabama is football country. Some of these Alabama football fans have sites that are in the trees, so they can't get good reception for the game that comes on today. But this guy's got it he's got it figured out. He's got a water hose reel with a long coax cable, so he can set his dish antenna up and run that long cable all the way to his camper. Got to see that Alabama football. This campground's got a nice playground.
Tent camping to a whole new level.
Got to take a picture of this. Tent camping to a whole new level. Look at that air conditioner they've got sitting on the slab, keeping that tent cool. Only in Alabama. Gunter Hill has an overlook over the creek that surrounds this campground. It's right down this path. In fact, that looks like a mother going to look for her grandkids right now. Here's the overlook. That lady that I thought was coming down here to look for her grandkids, she's not here. I can't figure out where she disappeared to. Don't know the name of this creek. It's something like Catoma Creek. But basically it's the Coosa River water. Comes through Jordan Lake and New Lake and on down through Montgomery and empties into the Alabama River. There's a dam anyway on the new lake right above Montgomery, and then there's a dam below Montgomery down around Boulder, making this body of water about maybe as much as 30 or 40 miles long. So it's, if you want to call it a lake, it's a nice little lake. This is another trail right beside the Overlook Trail. This one's a little rough, a little rocky, but not bad. Somebody told us that it goes right down to the water's edge, so we're going to check it out and see. Yeah, this trail comes right down to the Catoma Creek. In North Georgia, we'd call this a river. In Montgomery, they call it a creek. I saw something in the water right over there, but don't see anything anymore. When we checked in, the lady at the camp host lady told me that there were alligators in this water. There's nothing that says these folks from Alabama can't celebrate July the 4th all year long, even on Labor Day. Like I said before, you gotta get the Alabama football game. Of course, it was yesterday, but here's a satellite dish that's set up on one side of the road where you can get good reception, and then he's got his cable taped down to the concrete road all the way over to his camper, which is behind that red truck. Let's see if he's got an Alabama flag.
Got a red Alabama on the tent.
Got a red tent. There's a good sign, good indication that he's an Alabama fan. Although I don't see a sign. Yeah, even those outside chairs are red and white. You've got to be an Alabama fan. Here's something a little unusual. It's a pull-through site that has a tent set up on it. Of course, it's a big, nice tent. You don't see this very often. Really a nice setup over there. You can see how much room they give to each of these campsites. Now that's a pull through, but he's got his car behind his camper. He's got enough room in front of his camper for me to park my camper. Another Alabama fan. Got the Alabama sign out front. Got the Alabama sign on the back of his camper. But he's got an orange truck. I bet his Auburn friends like that. This shows you how large these sites are. This guy's got room for his truck, his camper, another vehicle, and his boat. This is Gunter Hill Campground just outside Montgomery, Alabama.
There's another vehicle back behind it too.
Oh yeah, there's another vehicle right beside the boat. I understand there's another Corps of Engineering campground on this body of water about 15 or 20 minutes from here, down close to Boulder, which is where the dam is. And at that site, although they don't have full hookups, they have a lot of docks that you can fish from. So I'd like to check that other side out one trip when we are going to be here for just 2 or 3 days so that we don't have to have sewer. I haven't seen any lawnmowers running since we've been here, but they keep this place looking good. The grass is cut, the park is clean. So they run those lawnmowers at some point, but let's see, we got here on, what day did we get here? We left on Friday. So we came down on Friday. We've been here Saturday and Sunday. Maybe they just cut the grass during the week and not on the weekend. Got a nice bathhouse here in this portion of the campground. The middle section is a laundry. And that's where somebody loaned me a book from, and I just returned it this morning. And on each end, there's the women's bathhouse on the right and the men's on the left. The whole campground's nice, neat, and clean. These people are here, so I don't want to be too obvious about taking this picture, but if you're from Alabama, you carry an outhouse with you. So they've got that little outhouse set up behind their camper. I wonder who's relegated to using it, the kids or the daddy. Looks like he's got a boat captain with him that knows what she's doing. Well, she's really not headed for it, so we'll see. Well, that's not his wife driving the boat. That's a friend. Did a good job. The ramp's slick and these tires are spinning, pulling boats up this ramp. Maybe that's what it was over at Altoona, where we saw trucks that couldn't pull their boats out. I was thinking it might be in the wintertime, but when it was a little icy, but I bet it was just wet and they had bad tires. What's unusual about this dock? What's unusual about this dock? What is unusual about the dock? There's another pontoon boat. We'll see how they do. Good job. Well, thank you for watching our blog. This is Terry Williamson with RVDestinations.blog. I hope that it brought back memories if you've already been to this place. If you haven't been there, maybe you might want to add it to your bucket list. Before you leave, go to the bottom of any page on our blog and leave us a comment and give us some feedback. Subscribe to our blog. We like to know that people are actually watching the blog, so this helps us and we appreciate it. This is Terry Williamson with RVDestinations.blog saying thank you for watching our blog.